if you were to try to make $100,000, usually people are going to come to the conclusion that you need a lot of views, or you need a ton of subscribers or a ton of followers. But in reality, that could actually harm you in many, many ways. And I don't mean it in a conventional way, so I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. In fact, when it came to me specifically, when I had a few hundred followers, I was making 6 figures. All the way back in 2021, when I had a few thousand on Instagram, I was also making 6 figures. So this is something that I've proven over time, and I've actually tested many, many times. And if you were to have a ton of subscribers like some people that I know, or a ton of followers like some people that I know, you wouldn't even make a fraction of what I actually made. So there's this perception that because somebody has a ton of followers, they're probably doing good, or they're probably making a ton of money. Absolutely not true. Completely not true. And pricing is going to be one of the most important factors as to why that's the case. I wouldn't want to grow a fucking social media page up to like 1 million followers just to make money, or 100,000 followers just to make some money. Let's just focus on 100 subscribers, 100 to 500 followers for now. And let's talk about exactly how you can position that to make 5-10K a month right now. So we're going to talk about, is there a positive correlation between pricing and a successful coaching business? And I want you to really think about this. Do you guys see a correlation between the two? Well, if you said yes, then you're correct, right? And the reason why is because pricing is going to be the most important factor. So I don't really give a shit about anything else really, other than pricing, other than a few things. And the reason why is because there's only a few things that I could actually control. So price quality heuristics is going to be really important. So this is a marketing trick that's been extensively tested as well. All it is basically they had the same wine that were completely identical, but what they did was they asked somebody which one tasted better. Now there's a few ways to do this. I believe what they did was they just put 2 cups in front of them and they just said, drink out of these and just see which one's better. And they had told them prior to them actually drinking it that one of them is $90, whereas the other one is going to be $10. But which one do you think actually received much better to the public? It's going to be this one, the B, the $90 one. Why though, if they're the same thing? Now the reason why is because the perceived value that we have about certain things is going to obviously go up depending on how much it actually costs. So people usually, what they do is in business is they actually lower the cost, and they say, if I make it lower, then people are able to justify and rationalize even better. So it would almost get to the point where it's so low that it's a no-brainer. And how do people do this shit? Because this is the stupidest thing ever. If you're doing this in business, stop doing this shit. What people usually do to rationalize this is they say, I'm going to sell a free mini course or like a crash course. I'm going to give you a free ebook, free PDF, free this, free that. Nobody gives a fuck about what's free. Nobody respects it. Nobody actually views it. Think about it, guys. What skill do you guys have? Think about that. How many times have you been in a community? Was it once, twice, 3 times? If you're like me and you're relatively ambitious, then prior to actually succeeding, you would have actually joined a ton of communities, like 100 communities. How many of them did I actually like keep up with and actually look at? 0. Not a single one. Why? Because it's not because they're inherently shit. There's some really good ones that I could probably have gone back and actually learned something from. So you're not going to give commitment to something that doesn't really matter to you. So perceive value on 2 extremes. Imagine there's 2 extremes. So we've got the left end, which is going to be the extremely cheap, and we've got the right end, which is going to be relatively expensive, right? Extremely expensive. Price plays a part on both ends. On the first one, it's going to make people less serious, but it's going to bring a lot more people in initially. However, are those people going to retain? Are those people going to do anything? Is there going to be a high approval rating for your program saying, wow guys, this really worked out for me, etc.? No, of course not. Or is the other one going to receive much better longevity wise? Yeah, the other one, right? And it's because of perceived value. And the way that you do this, I talk about this in my videos, and I'm going to make another video on this sometime as well. But the way that you position the two depends entirely on the way that you're branding them. Like, if you look at websites on the first one, Imagine we're talking about wine. I don't drink alcohol, so I don't really know what wine looks like too much. But if we look at this one, I would assume that if this were like a website on business, there's a ton of explanations. There's a word from our founder, like anyone gives a shit anyways. There's a billion testimonials, video reviews, right? Like people submitting videos saying, oh wow, guys, look at how good this program is. It changed my life. Nobody cares about this kind of stuff, right? And then you come to this one. To be, what does it have? Simple logo, relatively minimalistic. The design is giving all of the branding for you. Very simple video explanation. The mentality is very much you're in or you're out. Now this is really helpful because this is kind of similar mentally to something called buyer's fatigue. I want you guys to actually rationalize this and write this down as well because it's going to be really important. Imagine you go into a shop, right? And there's like 5 different types of notebooks that you could choose from. If there's only 5 notebooks that you could choose from, you're probably going to leave with one, no? Yeah, you're probably going to leave with one. Now, are you going to be very specific on the exact sizing per centimeter, or like the exact amount of pages, etc.? Probably not, right? You're going to pick the best one out of the 5 and you're going to just call it a day. However, let's just assume there's 1,000 notebooks. You go to a notebook shop, they've got every shade possible, they've got every size possible, they've got different sizes relative to like the centimeter even, or the amount of pages, and there's massively different price points and etc. What is that going to do? It's going to bring buyer's fatigue. You're never going to really be satisfied with a choice. So there's 2 outcomes that can come from this. Either number 1, they're just not going to buy because they don't understand what it is that they're actually buying. Or number 2, they're just going to take a long time. They're going to eventually come to one conclusion, which is to buy it, or to buy one product. And then they're going to go home and they're going to rethink it many, many times. So you don't want either of them, right? Because you don't want someone to take forever to come to a conclusion. If you sell a mid-ticket, low-ticket, and a high-ticket, it's going to be very difficult for someone to come to the conclusion of what they need. Unless if they're radically different and they don't even do the same thing. They're not even remotely the same product. One's a software, one's a program. Unless if it's something like that, I wouldn't even do multiple products. I wouldn't even entertain low ticket or mid ticket if that weren't the case. You don't want someone to be like, oh, did I really need this advanced program with the one-on-one stuff and the group coaching? Or could I have just done this with the course itself? You don't want people to think like this. So either you're in or you're out. That's it. You don't want to talk to nobody who's on the fence or someone who has 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You don't want to do that. And the reason why you want to have this mentality is because courts do really good in these situations. So the idea is you want to be authoritative, you want to influence the decision making, and you want them to make a decision relatively quick. Now, this isn't going to work with putting a timer on the screen, which is going to only be attributed to this, or you don't want to have a 2 spots left thing, which is going to be attributed to this. You want to have a barrier between the person getting in and staying out. You want a barrier, so maybe a sales call or maybe an application, but that's just about it. That's what you want to do, and that's what's really going to make a ton more people want to actually associate with your branding and your company than somebody who's paying $10. Have you guys ever taken a course seriously that's like $10? Or have you guys taken your sweet time? Because I do that. I've taken so much time. I've never taken anything seriously that was $20, etc. So, like I said, they were identical. However, the brain's reward system, which is actually right here, guys, it's in the front. If they scanned it, they were to see greater activity for pleasure for the higher costing one. Now, this is what I mean. Cost plays a big role. When it comes to an expensive one, many brands really know how to make people feel like they should spend more. Courses are no different. Think about it, right? If there's 2 courses and they're telling you basically the same thing, they're just playing with semantics, and one just happens to be clearly a low ticket website, one tends to be a high ticket website, but the first one is only like $20 and the second one is $2,000. Which one do you think, if you were to bet your life on it, you know, you had to bet your life on one, which one do you think most likely has the better justified pricing or the better solution for you in general? Which one do you think? You're going to probably choose B, and that's the reality, right? That's just how it is. People are never going to rationalize the way that you think they probably do. You probably think like, oh, they're just going to want the cheaper one because it's easier for them financially. No, people don't do that. People justify with the way that something makes them feel. Then they justify the action of doing it later on. So what nobody realizes is these two things. You probably heard of this one, but probably not in this context, which is sunken cost fallacy. And what does this mean? Kind of like this. You see a ship tied to money. Should you cut off that money in order to save whatever's left? Should you do it? Well, it depends, right? It depends, because not every situation is a monolith. When it comes to business, you're probably going to have to hold on. I'm going to be honest with you. In order to succeed on anything, you're probably going to have to hold on. I don't care if you have minimal losses. If you're doing ads, let's say you're doing Google ads or whatever, just because the ads are screwing you over and they're fucking you over and you're losing some money right now, does that necessarily mean that you should completely abolish the idea of ads and just retreat? No, obviously not, right? You need that data, you need that information. And then what are you going to do with that? You're going to eventually turn that into a positive. However, you're going to have to take hits. So if you've got this mentality when it comes to ads, clearly you're not going to go anywhere. But when it comes to business, same thing. But the thing is, the people who don't understand what business is truly about, the people who never really succeeded, they're never really equipped to succeed ever, they're not going to understand this concept. So what's going to happen? They're going to actually justify leaving even if it's a small loss. Oh, I don't know if I'm doing it right. I think I should do a different business. These are traits that you see in people who are cowardice, right? And a lot of people are cowardice, I promise you. A lot of people. Even look at the behaviors of people who live in the East versus people who live in the West, right? Even something like Europe, more Eastern Europe, they're a lot more practical and logical about the decision making financially, whereas the Western nations, considering tons of marketing and advertising and etc., there is an excessive consumerism but scarcity mentality when it comes to other stuff like doing business, etc. This is just acknowledging reality, and you kind of have to be a realist to understand this. But if I were to somehow say this doesn't exist, then I'm naive, right? I'm just not willing to engage with reality. Now, why am I telling you this? It's because if you had a cheap course, like I told you, which is the bottle right here, good luck, man. That churn rate and that drop-off rate is going to be crazy. I used to have a program. I sold $100 a month. I used to have a program for $100 a month. What do you think happened? What do you think happened? Do you think everyone succeeded? Almost nobody truly made a meaningful success. Don't get me wrong, a dozen people did, but the vast majority didn't do shit. And the reason why is because they would leave the following month. As soon as the skin was in the game, they were like, oh, I'm out of here. That's just the reality of people. Also, younger demographic, more immature, they just play around with semantics and they say stuff like, do you think by this day, this time, I could actually achieve this? And it's some really, really unreasonable shit. Doesn't make any sense. Let's get the objective done, right? It's not focused on, random material items that you could achieve by this day, but this is a mentality that you're going to deal with. And what do you think these people are going to do, right? Like, between me and you, what these people are going to do is, if they don't get what they want in the specific time period that they want, in the preconceived notion template or whatever they wanted, not Notion template, by the way, guys, preconceived Notion template, then they're going to actually do stuff like chargebacks. Then they're going to give bad reviews. They're going to say a bunch of stupid stuff. They're going to find it normal to actually give you the slack for it. Not the people you want to deal with, guys. Not the people you want to deal with. What you want to do is, you want to deal with the good people, the people who are reasonable, the people who you can work with, the people you can actually reason with, create some meaningful relationship with, and a smaller group of people. If you want to succeed with the first one, which is going to be low ticket, you're going to have hundreds of thousands of views. You're just going to have to. Why? Because everyone's paying you $100. How many people does that take? It's as easy, if not more easy, to convince people to pay you a lot more money. Calling one person is the same thing as calling another person. It's just a different type of person. When you do high ticket and somebody's paying you $2,000 a month, they're a lot more reasonable. They're a lot more sound. their economic means makes a lot more sense for your program. They're in much more respectable positions, doctors, lawyers, engineers, etc., etc. And what they're going to do is they're not going to rationalize based on sunken cost fallacy. What they're going to be doing is they're going to spend 2,000, the skin's in the game from day one. Immediately they're in the game. So what they're going to be thinking is, fuck, well, I'm not going to turn back now, am I? Because I've already spent some money on this. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to go through the entire thing to its totality. I'm going to get to the very end. That's what they're thinking. And that's what's going to actually make it successful. That's what's going to make it work, guys. And they're going to get the outcome they want because they're able to sustain through the hardship and the difficulty, and they're able to actually get to what they want. It's really, really that simple. So somebody pays you 2,000, they're probably going to pay you 4,000 or 6,000 to finish the job. Nobody's paying 2,000 for an unfinished job, and you shouldn't get paid a super low amount to give someone something they really want, as long as it's meaningful, right? So that is why sunken cost fallacy is not going to work with high ticket people. Don't work with these like shitty low ticket people. They're going to give you a hard time. It's not worth it, guys. Go for people that actually have value. So cost relative to problem size, this is what we're going to talk about now. What the hell do I mean? Let's say the problem is not something generic like cybersecurity services for everyone, or just a regular VPN, or just a regular coaching business for fitness. These are very generic things. Let's say you're not doing that. Let's say you're doing something very specific, a micro niche. I talk about micro and nano niches a lot. This is what you're going to see a lot if you go throughout all my other videos, which, by the way, if you're not doing, what the hell are you watching, honestly? When it comes to a niche business, a micro niche, a nano niche business, a business that is more specific about who it actually deals with. So let's say instead of cybersecurity, you do cybersecurity for non-profit organizations in hostile countries. That's a niche. Yeah, crazy, right? Or let's say you do cybersecurity for brand new crypto projects. Or maybe even political dissidents. You do cybersecurity for political dissidents or political commentators. Are these people going to pay you a lot more money, or are they going to go to a general cybersecurity guy who's charging $100 a month? They're going to pay you a lot of money. These people probably have money. Not even just people, businesses too. They probably have a lot of money, right? If you're open to having your hand out there and being like, I'm going to get the money, then listen, right? Listen. These are the types of businesses where they can charge $5,000 a month. B2B, business to business, $5,000 a month. $3,000 a month if you're doing B2C, which is business to consumer, to an individual. That's how you really make money, guys. And when you make very specific videos on YouTube, I know you guys have looked up stuff on YouTube because you guys all own a business, or you probably are beginning a business, right? Let me know. Actually, comment down below. But every single one of you guys have looked up something specific on YouTube, but you guys haven't found it. Maybe you've gone on Reddit, you guys haven't found it. I have experiences like this. Recently, I was looking for a bot specific to WhatsApp. Maybe this could be your business, right? So listen up, maybe this could be a business. I was looking up on WhatsApp, or if there's like a bot for WhatsApp. Because I deal with clients through WhatsApp. I've historically dealt with a ton of clients through WhatsApp, all the way spanning to 2020. And the thing that I realized is that WhatsApp bots are really, really bad. And they don't really have a proper bot that could actually manage people. It could book meetings for people. It could actually manage where somebody has to go in order to like book a specific type of meeting or anything. The appointment setting part is just like manual. Which means that I'm probably going to have to go in there, or I'm probably going to have to go in and hire somebody to actually physically do a lot of these things. Appointment setting, dealing with people on WhatsApp. I don't want to do that shit. So I started looking online for a bot that could actually do that. It was either that there's a really, really expensive product that doesn't fully do it, so I couldn't justify it, or there's really shitty ones that deal with way too many technical stuff and could actually mess up, and it is kind of risky in some areas. I didn't want to do either or. So what did I do? Naturally went on YouTube. Not a single person had a real solution to this. And I'm like, I cannot be the only one who actually wants this, right? Like, I'm surely not the only one. Went on Reddit, how many people wanted this? A decent amount of people. I was actually kind of surprised. We've seen a couple hundred people discussing something like this. People attempted to make it, but they're not very technical. Somebody offered to make it, but they charged like a really high price, and they were going to do it proprietary for a specific company. Wasn't really a good solution. Now imagine that you know how to make this, and for you it's just not that difficult, right? You were to go into that Reddit, guys actually made it. You got 100 people plus 200, 300 people right there in front of you. And look at this with this mentality, right? You're the one who's extending your hand to help people because you've got the product and you've got the means of them doing something. Are they going to really try to vet you at the highest capacity? Are they going to really try to look for the issues in what you're serving? Are they going to try to nitpick with you on the pricing? No, of course not. You're the damn monopoly, bro. If you're the damn monopoly and you've got the entire thing and nobody has anything else, then what do you think is going to happen? Naturally, you're going to be the one who can charge a lot of money. Could you possibly charge $500 a month to somebody who wants a basic plan? Yes. Could you charge $5,000 a month to an enterprise plan for a major company? Of course, right? So my point is that you're going to be able to do so much, and you're in a position of power actually when you address the micro niches, right? So the problem is pretty big here. The cost goes up every single time. And also, are we going to cancel the subscription if it's doing well for us? If it's actually appointment setting, are we going to cancel that subscription? No, because what's the alternative? The alternative is hiring some random guy. This is how you want to look at things. Oh yeah, this is so important. I cannot forget to mention this. All you need is a few hundred views per video. Let's say you were to make that exact product and you were to go on YouTube and you were to title it right, SEO is correct, right? And then all of a sudden, you just put it on YouTube and you just let whatever happens. Someone like me or those hundreds of other people that were on that Reddit page, they would have actually looked this up. They would have obviously gone to YouTube and looked it up to see if somebody's already done it. We just didn't see it. That's why we're on Reddit. So how many more people could there be that wanted it that are not on this Reddit? Probably a lot. What you would probably get is 1,000 views. But out of those thousands, what do you guarantee? You guarantee everyone has a business, you guarantee everyone has the same problem, and you guarantee that everyone has some level of income to be able to pay for something like this. Everyone you need is that. All that you need, you don't even need a fancy website. The only thing you need is you need like a submissions page. And that's it. You've got all of your clients right there. So this is kind of how I did things when I started. $500 a month per client, that's how much I charged. At some point, this is a long time ago we're talking about. I've done way more than this now, or even, in the previous 2 years. But 300 to 500 views per video, conversion 0.5. It is a bit of a exaggeration from 0.46, so you could keep that in mind. And I would get 1 to 2 clients on a 3-month retainer. So we're talking about 500, 3-month retainer, 1,500, potentially 3,000, $1,500 to $3,000 from every 3 to 500 views. And what I did was I turned the price up to 2,000, 2,500, and I got the same exact amount. I never got less clients. I never got a worse conversion. I never got less views. I never got less of a retainer. In fact, the retainer was even better because of the sunken cost fallacy. And the only thing this really did was it just made me so much better and more efficient, and able to actually succeed a lot more from a lot less. And this is what I'm telling you guys to do. Guys, stop doing this thing where you're trying to make 1 million views to get some money. If you're trying to make 6 figures, just do this. I'm telling you everything that you need. Now, here's a bit of a coaching red pill. If cost isn't a factor to them, then they're not going to retain. And that's my experience. Not just my experience, the people that I've worked with before, the people that I know, my friends, etc. This is the experience that we all have. If the cost is not going to be a factor to them to really think about, then they're not going to be retaining. And they're not going to give you good reviews either, because they're not going to actually stay to do anything good. They're not going to make a meaningful change or anything. So you want to keep this in mind. So all of this is exactly what you want to do. And there is more. There's a lot more that I want to go into, like the hardline doctrine and, the very important stuff. But that's going to be the next video. And I'm trying to post consistently, so click on the subscribe button right below and make sure that if you guys have a question, you guys let me know. But this is exactly what you should be doing if you're trying to make a ton of money really quickly and really, really easily.